All right, so we're working on a new problem, right? Working on a new problem. Here's the result. I just realized that I did the problem without recording it first. So I'm gonna have to do everything over. That's okay. All right, so that's 3D. All right, so again, we're working on 3D, and 3D I have 1 over x squared minus 4 divided by x squared plus 6x plus 9. The first thing I do is to do my KCF. So I got x squared plus x minus 6 here, and I want to do a KCF. So I want to do keep, change, and flip. So I keep the left fraction, 1 over x squared minus 4. I change this division to multiplication, which is going to give me x squared plus x minus 6. And this is going to become the denominator, the second fraction, x squared plus 6x plus 9. And so I want to factor, I want to put a 1 here. I'm going to factor. So, oh, it's so good to live in just a little break. It's so good to live in a little bit of suburbia. I mean, it's not really suburban. It's far off away. Well, you can hear the birds outside. Just a little quick commercial break. So anything you're hearing, you're either hearing the birds outside or the birds in my house. All right, anyway, so I got 1 over x minus 2, x plus 2. So we have factored these things before in previous problems so you can see them. And I have an x plus 3 times x minus 2 in the numerator. Why? Because positive 3 plus negative 2 is going to be a positive 1. Positive 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So that's why you have that factoring. And this factoring here in the denominator is going to be x plus 3 times x plus 3. It's a perfect square. You don't need any trick to see that. So 3 plus 3 is going to be equal to 6. And 3 times 3 is 9. So the factoring is good. So now you're going to cancel. And so that cancels that. And you get a 1 there, get a 1 there. And this cancels this. When you cancel, you have 1s left over. So now in the numerator, I have 1 times 1 times 1 is going to be your 1. In the denominator, I have x plus 2 times 1, which is itself. X plus 3 times 1, which is itself. So I have x plus 2 on the left. And x plus 3 on the right. And so that's my solution. That's the solution for 3D. Okay. Number 3, kind of long, a lot of different problems. A lot of possible problems you can get on the exam. I'm going to look at 3F now. And 3F is subtraction. Addition is same process, but you're going to add straight across after you simplify. It's not as complicated. Subtraction, however, asks you to do something a little more, right? Okay. I'm not going to do 3G because 3G is simple. It's you just taking the same denominator and then you are doing your factoring and subtracting. So I'll do 3F. 3F, I have x plus 3 over x squared minus x minus 2. This is subtraction. There is no KCF with subtraction, right? No KCF here. All right. So now I'm just going to be subtracting 2x. Let me put the subtraction right here. It applies to everything. Well, really, when you're subtracting or adding, you're just subtracting into the numerator or adding the numerators when you get this common denominator. So I have x squared minus 4. Oh, in the numerator, let me finish it. That was supposed to be a 2x minus 1. So I want to do some factoring now, right? So to get know what my least common denominator is going to turn out to be, you need to factor first. All right. So all right. So, okay. Just a second. I gotta answer this text. All right. Okay. Yeah. At home we gotta multitask. So anyway, this is x plus 3. And over here I have an x. I want to factor this. This is a -1. So two numbers are multiplied to give me -1 and add -2. Two numbers that multiply to -2 and add to -1. So one number must be positive and one must be negative. So again, +1 plus -2 is going to give me a -1. +1 times -2 is going to give me a negative. +1 times -2 is going to give me a -2. Let me just do that quickly. So I need two numbers that multiply to give -2, add to give -1. So I only have two options for the multiplication here. So I have -1, 2 times +1, or +2 times -1. We're not going to choose this one because if I add them, I will get a +1. I want to get the -1 when I add. So therefore, this is what I choose. So again, this denominator factors into a +1 and then -1, x plus 1 and then x. I said +1, -1. No, I mean +1 and -2. So this is going to be an x plus 1 and an x minus 2. All right, so now I'm going to factor the denominator on the right side. And that's going to give me an x plus 2 and then x minus 2. All right, so I'm going to look on what's missing. What do we have in common? So we have this in common, so we don't have to worry about that. We have the x minus 2 in common. That's pretty nice. What we don't have in common is we don't have the x plus 1 and the x plus 2. So we're going to kind of do like a little exchange here. So I have an x plus 3 and an x plus 1. And again, what is missing? I'm missing an x plus 2. So I want to write that here, x plus 2 times an x plus 2. Because it's missing. And the numerator is the same as the denominator in this case, and this what I just multiplied by, so it doesn't affect the fraction. It doesn't change the fraction, rather. Okay? And so now the same thing over on the right. What's missing here is I don't have an x plus 1. So I want to multiply by an x plus 1. So I get an x plus 1 over x plus 1 multiplied by the previous fraction, which was 2x minus 1 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. Again, sorry for the bird sound. The birds outside the window are very, very active today, and I can't tell them to mute. All right, so now we're not going to cancel out, so that's the temptation. There's no canceling out yet. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the common denominator, and here it is. So the common denominator is going to be x plus 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. See it? X plus 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. So I have x plus 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. That is the denominator. And so now the numerator, now I have to do some mathematics. So I do some FOIL. So x times x is going to be x squared. X times 3 is going to be 3x. X times 2 is going to be 2x, positive 2x. And then x times 3 is going to be, 2 times 3 is going to be 6. Over here, I have to remember I'm subtracting everything. All right, so just take that off for the time being. We'll put that by itself. So I have x times 2, x is going to be 2x squared. X times minus 1 is going to be minus x. 1 times 2x is going to be a positive 2x. And 1 times a negative 1 is going to be a negative 1. And so I have this crazy looking thing to simplify, which I'm just going to go to the top and do my simplification. All right, so still have the same, again, I'm continuing up here from here. I still have the same denominator. So I have x plus 1 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. So that's going to be x squared. I'm going to simplify this. 3x plus 2x is going to be 5x. X squared plus 5x plus 6. And before I do the subtraction, I'm just going to also simplify. So I'm subtracting 2x squared minus 1x plus x is just going to be plus 1x. Right? So I'm minusing x from 2x. It's going to be 1x. Negative x plus 2x is 1x minus 1. Right? And so what I'm going to do now is I can start my subtraction. It's going to give me a final answer. So I'm taking x squared and I'm subtracting 2x squared. So what I have here is I have an x squared and I'm subtracting a 2x squared. And here I have a 5x. I'm changing the signs of everything here. I'm subtracting a 1x. And also I have a positive 6 and I'm subtracting a negative 1. So negative and the negative becomes a positive. And I multiply. So let's just do that again. It's like I have this invisible 1 here, right? So negative 1 times 2x squared is going to be negative 2x squared. Negative 1 times a positive 1x is going to be a negative 1x. And negative 1 times a negative 1 is going to be a positive 1. All right, so I still have my denominator. And finally, I'm going to do the last step of the simplification. X squared minus, this is a 1x squared minus a 2x. Squared is just going to be a negative x squared. And you have a 5x minus a 1x is going to be a plus 4x. And here you got a 6 plus a 1 is going to be a 7. All right, and so this is a 7 at the end. That's what it looks like, but it's a 7. And now I have a denominator x plus 1, x plus 2, x minus 2. Let me see if they simplify it anymore on the answer. And that's it. My answer key agrees. I know, that was a lot, right? All the best with that. That was a lot. Yep. So this was 3B. All right, so this problem was a little long, so I'm gonna let it have its own video. And we're gonna do